Thanks to all our witnesses for being here today. I'm glad we're having two trade-focused hearings this month as it demonstrates that Republicans really care about improving and modernizing the way U.S. engages in trade so that the United States can continue to be a leader, which is so important to so many workers, businesses, and families throughout the country. Not only is U.S. trade leadership critical for the health of the American economy, but we've also seen that if we cede our leadership role, our adversaries like China step in. Unfortunately, we've seen absolutely no interest from the Biden administration to engage in trade issues as they treat trade as a second-class issue. While the United States should lead globally on trade, it is Congress who should be leading the way in shaping and advancing our trade practices and agenda. Despite efforts from the Biden administration to try and circumvent Congress, it's the constitutional authority of Congress to lead on U.S. trade policy. I think most of my Democrat colleagues would agree that a critical minerals agreement is not actually a trade deal and that trade agreements need to be approved by Congress. But given the debt crisis that President Biden has stumbling through, the American negative outlook on the economy, modernizing and updating customs and policies and trade laws will be an important way to help fuel the economic growth. As a representative from Kansas' 4th Congressional District, I'm honored to represent farmers and ranchers in Kansas. Ag is an important economic industry in my home state. Meat tops Kansas ag exports and is our #2 overall export commodity for the state at more than $2 billion in 2022. And in the United States, ag exports hit $196 billion in 2022. I recently spoke with the Harvey County Farm Bureau, a group of highly motivated ag producers in one of the counties in my district, who made it clear that market access is one of the keys to helping them thrive, as well as trade enforcement and a robust workforce. Ms. Smith, how will modernizing efforts support the trade efforts of farmers and ranchers in Kansas and across the country?
Thank you for the question. I believe that having customs regulations and procedures that reflect the way business is done by those ranchers and farmers who are looking to export and do it safely, securely, and compliantly is easier when the rules are clear, the rules are as streamlined as possible, and that they can also expect that the government will enforce the laws that protect them from unfair competition. I believe the 21st Century Customs Framework proposals will do those things, and that CBP is looking to partner with Congress to make those changes.
Well, thank you. And we've heard a lot about China today. Its use of forced labor and other human rights abuses is deeply troubling for all of us. Even worse, as China accumulates trade partners around the world, it'll increase its use of forced labor to stay competitive and meet demand. If we want to counter China, we must compete from a position of strength. One of the new bills that I introduced with Congressman John Larson would help us innovate and maintain global competitiveness and expand trade opportunities. The American Innovation and R&D Competitiveness Act would restore immediate R&D expensing for America's innovators and entrepreneurs, making it more favorable for businesses to make investments in research and development and to keep manufacturing and production and jobs here in the United States. Producing more goods in the United States will also lessen our need to rely on some nefarious actors like China. However, not all parts of every good can be sourced here. Mr. Kanko, how can we increase supply chain transparency to help ensure that even if a product's made here in the United States, we can ensure that none of the composite material or components are tainted or made with slave labor?
Great question. Thank you, Representative. Well, by opening up air manifest data, domestic manufacturers will be able to see first who's importing products similar to what they manufacture. You start with that in terms of benefiting the American manufacturer. Once they understand who's consuming products that they make, I think now more than ever, there's a good economic, mathematical opportunity for the local supplier to take that business away from the foreign supplier. And only with transparent import data can you see the full picture of who's doing what. And same for various subcomponents of a product. If your supplier is another American company and they're bringing in part of their supply chain from China or anywhere else, you wouldn't know that now without access to air data. So by complete manifest transparency, you'll have access to this valuable information and have a better understanding of what components are coming from where.
Thank you. And Mr. Ferguson, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, so we are a manufacturer in the U.S., and we make Stone Glacier backpacks in California. We make fishing waders for Sims in Montana, and other holsters and things. And I can tell you that the amount of time our compliance team spends in sourcing the source of some of our supply is quite intense. And so you talk about the R&D expensing. I also think if we had better supply chain transparency, that generates savings from time not spent by the compliance team, running down this information that could be readily available otherwise. So you kind of have this double effect of becoming more efficient, efficiencies get put back into product, innovation, supply chain diversification. It's a true win-win.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that really is part of the goal of how do we be productive and how do we be competitive, which is really what a free and fair marketplace is about and what we want to do.